Welcome to the Fortunate Events Podcast. I'm your host, Jessica Bennett, and this podcast explores how our education, careers, and life experiences intersect in unexpected ways. I'm excited to share the airspace today with Dr. Bob Darling. He is an ENT specialist in Friendswood and also a client of mine at Infante Marketing Solutions. Dr. Darling, thanks for joining me today. Would you like to go ahead and give a little brief introduction of yourself?
Oh, I suppose. So my name is Bob Darling, and I mean, you already did such a decent job of laying into this. So I suppose I should, the David Copperfield, I was born, I grew up.
Let's do it.
Okay. Born in Milwaukee and didn't live more than about 2 hours away from the hospital I was born at until residency, which brought me down into Galveston. And turns out Texas is not the worst, so I decided to stay. And we find ourselves here.
What was your experience like in Galveston? That's where you went to UTMB.
UTMB for residency. And so it's flip-flops and facial trauma is kind of how I would describe Galveston. It does have a very sleepy island time vibe going for it much of the time, but then there are these times of year, basically all summer, plus the Lone Star Biker Rally, plus Mardi Gras. And none of these things were on my radar events to be noteworthy. I was expecting, it's a sleepy beach town. It is not.
Yeah.
There's a lot to Galveston.
So did you spend a lot of time on the beach when you were going through your residency?
I tried to dip a foot in the ocean once a week, every week, for the entire time that I lived in Galveston, because Milwaukee is a lot of things, but it is not a beach town. And as beautiful as Lake Michigan is, January is not exactly a time that you can relax in the water.
It's colder over there.
Yeah, no, the polar plunge is a very different animal.
Well, how long have you been practicing since you, became a doctor? How long have you been doing that?
If we don't count residency, we're about 8 years into this now. Counting residency, we're 12.
Yeah, it's a long
13.
time.
Yeah, no,
it's your whole life almost.
It sneaks up. Up on you.
Well, what gave you the push to step out and open your own practice?
Hard to say. It turns out that as an organization gets bigger in size, so too does you have different layers of bosses to satisfy. There are other things that you have to keep in mind, and not just be, this is the type of medicine I wish to practice. A lot of decisions get made for you, and I did not really like feeling pressured in any way, shape, or form to do things that I didn't feel altogether comfortable about. Now with our name on the door, our name on the building, we can essentially make these decisions for ourselves. And I feel like that's where the decision needs to be. It's not for an administrator to decide how medicine should be practiced. It's for the physicians.
Yep, that's a great answer. I didn't ask this, but how did you get into specializing in ENT? What drew you to this field specifically?
Yeah, so two of my uncles growing up, so my dad's brothers, were ear, nose, and throat physicians up in the Milwaukee area, and I shadowed one in high school and thought, wow, this is sweet. Basically does every little kid's dream of just playing with gross stuff all day. But, in medical school, I was like, I'm going to really give this the old college try and make sure I give all of these other specialties a fair shake of things. And I was really, you can't see because it's an audio only podcast, but my fingers are almost touching. I was this close to going into OB of all things. I don't know why, but I will say that the C-section from a procedural standpoint remains one of my favorite procedures. It's relatively short. It's very textbook. There's not a whole lot of surprises in it usually. And at the end, you got a baby and not some like gross necrotic bowel that you're pulling out. So in general, it was a very positive specialty with a very positive experience.
Mm-hmm.
But ultimately, there are too many really hard discussions to have with people in OB.
Yeah.
In fact, almost every discussion is a hard discussion in OB, and it wears at you after a while. 6 weeks on a rotation? Sure.
Yeah.
6 years in to figure out only then, like, oh, I can't do this. That would be devastating. 'Cause you're kind of committed.
Absolutely.
And then ENT, it's, half clinic, half surgical. So you're never going to really burn out of any aspect of it. You can shift your practice
Nice.
to kind of, I don't want to say suit your mood, but to suit what you feel like you're capable of doing. More seasoned ENTs, they start to back off on operating and, take on partners to do that. I don't want to say operating is a young man's game, but to be in the OR every day for 5 days a week, it's physically exhausting to do that. So, having a split, it adds longevity to it as well.
How many surgeries do you do a year? Do you have
Year?
Are you doing several a month?
It's many a month.
Okay.
So we're just getting going on our own practice here, but with the more, mature practices that I've been a part of in the past, I've probably doing like 7 or 8 a week.
Oh, wow.
And not all of these are super long. Some of them are going to be, 2-3 hour things, but I'd say, over half of them are going to be 5-10 minutes. Set at ear tube. It doesn't take very long. And so I don't know if that counts. But
I think so.
So let's say 6 hours of operating a week is about where I find myself on average.
Well, with starting your own practice, what's one thing that you, I guess, learned the hard way, just getting into this?
Oh, golly. I do want to give a shout out to my wife, who she wasn't necessarily the driving force behind starting our own practice, but without her, it would, in the world that I occupy, it would have been very, very difficult. You can't hope to do all of this by yourself. And I feel like the system has been set up in that way, trying to, the old days of getting out of residency and setting up a shingle and practicing on your own. I don't want to say they're over, but they are very hard to do now. You have to have startup capital and business plans and things that we just don't learn in medical school. They don't even give you a business class. All of the classes and all the stuff you're expected to learn, the stuff that will sink or float a practice is not included. Yeah, it's basically, I feel like it's purposefully excluded because they don't want people focusing on the business aspect. Yeah. Just noble, I guess, but certainly made all of this an awful lot harder to do. Because
you're learning it as you go.
Yeah, and so my wife with a financial background, this was fairly straightforward and easy for her, but I mean, we're still, we're less than a year into this, and I'm still bordering on terrified, even though every marker is going in a positive direction and saying that, no, this is going to work. Just, I feel like we're flying without a net. And she's like, no, look at the numbers.
She's like, we know what we're doing.
No, this is good. This is good.
Well, speaking of Stephanie, I actually met you through her. Stephanie and I used to work together at Perry Homes. And over the course of this podcast, I talk a lot about connections to Perry. So another shout out to them. I've just met so many people during my career there that I'm still connected to and that still play a role in my career today. So I think that's pretty neat. Well, let's shift gears and talk about social media, because social media is the space that I live in, but with having your own practice, that's also how we're getting more people familiar with your brand and your offerings. But I know that you've had several videos go viral that reached thousands or even millions of views. What was the first video that really took off, that went viral for you?
I know that there was one where it was just one of these, and it's going to sound like I'm talking down about it, when in reality it's kind of just a theme. They're trying to capitalize on, these trends that hit TikTok and all of them. Mm-hmm. And so it's one of those where they're trying to catch someone in a genuine moment. They're like, clearly they're doing something else. But again, you can't see that I'm doing this because it's an audio only, but I'm using quotes here. They're catching.
He's typing.
But I'm like typing, and they come in and they broadside you with a question. Oh, how do you feel about this? Blah, 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 blah. And so I just gave pretty dry answers to all of them because I gotta be honest, I wasn't feeling it. And for whatever reason, that was what people latched onto because I think everyone was mad that that was a trend.
Yes.
No one likes those videos, but they popped up everywhere. So the algorithm thought that that's what people want.
Well, I think that they did when they saw your video. But that is something that I think sets you apart is, your dry humor and not, following probably the social trends, and you stand out in your own way. We recently did some videos that were very much, your own direction, and a lot had your ideas play into it. But for those listening, you should definitely check out his socials at Darling ENT Friendswood. We're on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube. So we're starting to grow his new practice and his new following, and would love for y'all to follow along. But speaking of those videos, just a couple more questions. Did that change how anyone interacted with you? Did anyone ever come across the video or see you after, coming across this viral video? Did it bring more people to your practice?
So because, at least with the more recent ones we did, which were, by the way, how do I put this? They were of much higher quality than the video that went, that garnered all of the views. And so it was just because I wasn't piggybacking on the viewership of a large institution that those wouldn't have caught on nearly as much. So that first one that I was alluding to, I was wearing this Norwegian sweater, which has kind of become my calling card, because who the heck wears sweaters in Houston, let alone just Norwegian sweaters?
Yes.
But I was wearing that and kind of made a big deal about it amidst the questions. And so the whole next week, I didn't realize how many people watched the video, but a lot of people where's your sweater weather? And I'm like, what do you mean? I saw you on TikTok. I'm like, I'm not on TikTok.
That's so funny.
Film anything for TikTok. It's filmed it for they must have put it on TikTok.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it generated more appointments. I know that it solidified that sweater as a calling card.
Yes, which we played on in our videos too. But yes, we helped him with a set of 4 videos. We actually probably plan your next set of videos here soon. But something that Infante Marketing does for our clients is we help showcase each of them in their own unique personality with their own brand voice. So nothing's ever going to look the same, with our other clients. Everything's going to be catered to each specific client. Well, one last question about your
social. Can I interject one thing about the videos?
Yeah.
I don't think you've given yourself enough credit on this, and you should, because you had basically written out, I want to say 3 really solid scripts on there that I read kind of the night before.
Yeah.
And I should have put more time in because we thought, we could play off of this. And you took that day of, having an expectation that we were going to film these 3 very specific videos. Yeah. And we wound up filming 4, basically riffs off of your material, and didn't even skip a beat. And I don't think that's on me. I think that's actually on you, because I think another person would have been, no, we're sticking to the script and not trying to go with the changes.
Well, I think that's what makes us different too, is that we do want to showcase, our clients' ideas and their vision and take that to that professional level. So I appreciate your kind words on that. Well, let's talk about, the theme of the podcast, which is fortunate events. So for you, whether it's career or personal, what is one defining moment of your life that maybe started as a challenge and then ended up being a really positive outcome?
See, I'm not a great interviewer or interviewee. A similar version of this question pops up in most job interviews, and I never really had a great answer for it. I will say something that I can't believe our good fortune that it came together is actually the location of where we wound up signing the lease for the clinic. We realized that we needed to start our own thing, and it was on a pretty sharp timetable. And we were going to have to do that. I was stepping away from my last position and had to kind of expedite things because once you announce your departure, things don't always go on your timetable.
Yes.
So we realized that we were going to have to move pretty quickly, and so we start looking at places, and we've seen a couple of sites, some commercial leases, and we're just not like blown away. And so we reached out to Dr. Lindsay Jackson, who is a ER physician, but she runs a med spa in Friendswood, and we're like, hey, we like y'all's location. Are any of the folks in that strip mall area, do you know, are you aware of any of them that are going to be leaving? She's like, funny you should mention it. We are going to be leaving. And their primary site here, which we are sitting in as we do this interview, we barely had to do anything to turn it over. It was already pretty much set up layout-wise. So our build-out cost maybe like $15,000 total, and budgeted way more than. No, that's a lie, because we ultimately had to do floors too, which is kind of an unforeseen expense. But suffice it to say, it was like
still much less.
It was like a quarter of what we had planned to build out.
And
the average physician office, it costs a heck of a lot more than you think it's going to be. Just before you see your first person, just making sure the place is set up for it and meets all codes that are supposed to be accounted for.
Yeah.
So I could not believe our good fortune.
That really was very.
And the timetable was perfect. I mean, she had construction delays, so she couldn't move out as perfectly. But if everything had come together the way it was supposed to, it would have been seamless.
Yeah. Hardly ever does things go seamlessly.
No, and nor should they. Things are complicated enough that you're supposed to wind up rolling with some of these. It's all about your perception of things. But
it's true a little bit.
Well, yeah, I feel like an optimist is going to get an awful lot out of life, and a pessimist is always going to have kind of a glasses half empty approach. And that's kind of why my wife and I balance each other out so well, is because I tend to, I feel like, be a little more anchor, and she would describe herself as a little more sail.
Yeah. Well, good. You need that balance. Well, I just probably have one or two more questions, and then we'll move over to Stephanie. But just back on the social media topic, what advice would you give to other professionals who might feel nervous or unsure about putting themselves out there?
I mean, who are you trying to impress? It's like, you think of how many dumb things you have sunk your time and attention into. And if you have something to add to the discussion, why not add it? And I just don't know if it's shame or what. You think, I have a weird voice. I have a weird voice.
Me too.
This is totally fine. I feel like content is always worthwhile providing, as long as you have something to add to the discussion and you're using, I don't want to say, kind of like your genuine thoughts, your genuine voice. But no one's exactly like you. You may think so, but no one's exactly like you.
I agree. I have a twin sister, and even the two of us are not exactly alike.
Identical?
We are.
Okay.
We're identical.
Yeah, no, just all the more.
But we're very different still. Well, just to close this out here, for someone thinking about starting their own practice, what's one piece of advice that you would share from your experience?
You're going to want a support structure around you. And I know that's not very helpful for someone who feels like they're already kind of going it alone on things, but you're going to want help. It's almost impossible. Not impossible, but very difficult to do it on your own. It'd be a lot of sleepless nights if you don't have someone helping you through it. Business plan alone, I was going to need help with, and I was either going to need an accountant or somebody to pay somebody to do it, or as fortunate as it would be, Stephanie was able to pretty much fashion her business plan in 48 hours. It was amazing.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah, no, and it was right too. Like, the whole thing had projections, and so if that sounds a little over your comfort level, out of your realm, your away from, not playing for your strengths, you're probably right, because they don't teach you this stuff in medical school. So it's okay to ask for help. Moreover, I know consultant is kind of like a four-letter word for
I was
a lot of folks,
that up,
but this is the first practice we've ever built. Why not hire someone who's built more than one,
right,
to make sure that we're not doing dumb stuff, and that our contracts are good, and that we're making steps forward. Even if they're little steps, they're steps forward, and we're not buying some piece of equipment that we're never going to use because we had it at the, at the medical center, at the academic center, and it's just not how things are done in private practice. I don't get buy $100,000 audio booth if they're not working for the major hospital chain.
Yep. Well, I lied. I said that would be our last question, but
Got it.
One last thing before we switch over to Stephanie. What would you say what makes Darling ENT stand apart from other practices in the area? If you had to give yourself a little plug,
We have no bosses but our own. It gets back to the comment about folks doing their own social media and maybe not wanting to put your own genuine voice out there. One thing you can say from the second you walk in is it does not feel, it kind of does look like a doctor's office, but not really.
Very nice.
Yeah, no, it was set up deliberately to just feel comfortable and not sterile. It is sterile, but it's not supposed
Everything
to
is clean.
It's not supposed to feel that way. You'll see a picture of our family on the shelf when you first walk in. I couldn't do that when I worked for the state.
Yeah.
They may have said I could, but they would have stopped me. Eventually, it's just not something that can be out there. So,
yeah, I think that's a good point. The warm, family kind of focused atmosphere that y'all offer. I'll drop some links to photos in the podcast that airs, but they have a beautiful children's area with very unique wallpaper, and they've spent a lot of time making sure that the office looks beautiful and not just your standard doctor's office too. So I just had to share that. Well, thank you so much, Bob, for joining me and for taking the time to go over your practice and your background and what makes Darling ENT stand out. We'll jump over to Stephanie next. Hey there, Stephanie. Thank you for joining for the podcast. I'm just going to dive into the area that you are responsible for at Darling ENT. What's it like managing the day-to-day operations of a growing medical practice?
It's like taking a drink from a fire hydrant. I didn't come from a medical background, so there's so much on the job learning that I'm having to do. While there are still some things that are, I would say, similar. Money is money, so coming from a financial background and knowing how to manage a business, that has helped tremendously. But there's just, so many things that you don't know what you don't know. And I'm learning things about compliance and also trying to maintain the type of practice that we want for our patients, which is for them to feel like we genuinely do care. We want to remember their names when they come in, and so that it's familiar for them and they feel welcomed. So it's trying to balance all of that in a single day, but it's getting better every single day, and we've got just a great team here, so we really are supported in every aspect.
Love that. So I mentioned earlier in the podcast, but Stephanie and I met when we were both working at Perry Homes, and she was in sales. Is there any overlap between your role there and, your role here? Maybe, I guess it would mainly be with interacting with people, but what would you say what the commonalities are?
Absolutely. I think at the end of the day, sales, whether it's selling homes or, you're selling a treatment plan, so Dr. Darling is absolutely having to offer the options that are best for a patient. And at the end of the day, you are kind of selling what he feels is his best choice. And for me, it's absolutely, the customer service aspect is what I try and focus on, which is a huge part of sales. I want to have every patient come in here, feel welcomed, and have a good experience. When they leave, they feel like they were taken care of. They know that they could talk to us if they have questions. So in that regard, it's very similar. It is. It's about building rapport with people.
What's something that people don't realize goes on behind the scenes to keep everything running smoothly?
Snacks. There's a lot of snacks behind the
That's a great answer.
We don't always get a lunch break, and so there's just the nourishment aspect that has to come into play, so I can be as kind and approachable as possible, because the hangry gene is definitely runs deep in my family. So making sure I'm not bottoming out in any way with blood sugar. So for.
I want to ask you, at Darling ENT, you focus heavily on children in the pediatric branch, and you have a sub kind of brand, Little Darlings. Do you want to talk a little bit about the inspiration for that?
Yeah, absolutely. We obviously have a big family ourselves. We have 4 children. And so we always refer to our kiddos as our little darlings. And so it just felt like a natural fit into the practice is that, we wanted to make the parents feel and the children too, especially they are, just as important as our adult patients. And as a mom who's had, children that have gone through multiple operations and a lot of those ENT surgeries, it's nice to know that, your child's aftercare, especially, we do the boo-boo boxes. And so with the boo-boo boxes, depending on their surgery type, we try and help not just the parents to remember what needs to be done, but the children. And so, if they have their tonsils and adenoids removed, giving the kiddos a water bottle so that they remember that that's the number one rule is to stay hydrated, and give them like a little sensory toy because there's not much you can do after surgery. So giving them some little activity and then giving them something a little, happy to look forward to, which is we give all of the kiddos a gift card to go get ice cream once they're feeling better. So it's just, about, making them feel just as important as the adults are.
Mm-hmm. That's a great answer. I love it. Well, to close this out, I'll just ask one more. From your perspective, what's been the most rewarding moment so far in building Darling ENT together?
It's hands down the people that have continued to thank us for staying open. There's people that have walked in, patients that have my husband's business card from right out of residency. They have followed him from UTMB all the way through our journey. And
that's been incredible.
It is extremely heartwarming to see that they feel so valued and feel like they are in good hands with us. So hands down, that just people, thank you so much. Your husband is amazing. I know he's amazing, but thank you. It's wonderful to hear from someone else.
Yes.
It truly, makes us feel like we made the right decision in doing this.
And y'all have been officially open since January, is that right?
Yes.
January 6th, if I remember.
Yes, we've been building the airplane as we've been flying, so to speak.
Yep, and we have 2 events down under our belt. There was a professional grand opening and then a public grand opening, and both had a great turnout and a lot of show of support from the community. So that was really nice to see.
It was.
Yes. Well, thank you, Stephanie and Bob, for joining today on the podcast. This has been super fun. For anyone looking to connect with them, I usually ask the guest where they should go, but I will tell you where to go if you're looking to connect. darlingent.com is their website, and they are on all the social channels. So I'll be sure to drop their links in the description as well for the podcast. But thank you again, Stephanie.
Absolutely.
This has been fun. And for those listening, stay tuned. We have lots more exciting guests coming up. So thanks for following along. And until next time, bye.